When the manager of a famous restaurant in Texas shoved a blind, old woman out the door and threw trash on her, he had no idea she was the same woman who had bought the land of the entire town 40 years ago and had now returned to take everything back. The manager threw a bag of trash on the old woman's dress, and 6 hours later, he learned the entire restaurant was standing on her land. It happened on a blazing Friday afternoon in Cedar Ridge, Texas, outside the most expensive steakhouse in town, the Golden Steak. People came there in polished boots, diamond watches, and black SUVs. The kind of place where a glass of water looked expensive, and even the waiters spoke softly, like money itself was sleeping in the walls. That afternoon, an old woman stepped toward the front door. Her name was Mrs. Eleanor Whitmore. At least, that was the name she had not used publicly in almost 40 years. She wore an old gray dress, dusty shoes, a faded scarf over her white hair, and black glasses that covered her eyes. In one hand, she held a wooden cane. In the other, she carried a small brown purse with cracked leather and a gold clasp. She looked tired. She looked poor. She looked like the kind of woman rich people pretend not to see. The hostess hesitated when Eleanor reached the door. "Ma'am, do you have a reservation?" she asked politely. Before Eleanor could answer, the manager appeared. His name was Rick Dawson. Rick was tall, sharp-suited, and proud in the way weak men become proud when someone gives them a little power. He looked Eleanor up and down and frowned like she had dragged dirt across his floor. "What is this?" Rick snapped. "This is not a shelter." The conversations near the entrance grew quiet. Eleanor lifted her face slightly. "I only need a table for one." Rick laughed. "A table? Here." He turned toward the wealthy customers waiting behind him. "Ma'am, our cheapest steak costs more than whatever is in that purse." A few people chuckled. Eleanor's hand tightened around her cane. "I can pay," she said softly. Rick stepped closer. "You can pay by leaving." Then he grabbed her arm. The old woman stumbled. Her cane slipped. And right there, in front of lawyers, oilmen, socialites, and tourists, Rick shoved Mrs. Eleanor Whitmore onto the hot pavement. Gasps moved through the crowd, but nobody helped. Rick walked to the side door, snatched a leaking trash bag from the kitchen cart, and threw it beside her. Grease splashed onto her dress. Coffee grounds scattered across her shoes. "There," Rick said. "Now you match where you belong." For 3 seconds, Eleanor did not move. Then she slowly pushed herself up. She adjusted her black glasses, lowered them just enough for Rick to see the sharpness behind them, and said in a voice so calm it made the air feel colder, "Rick, today you didn't throw trash on an old woman. You changed the future of this entire town. In 6 hours, this restaurant will belong to me." Rick stared at her. Then he burst out laughing. "Call the police," he told the hostess. "Before the blind lady buys the moon too." Eleanor picked up her cane, turned, and walked away under the Texas sun. Rick went back inside smiling. For exactly 19 minutes. The first call came from the kitchen. "Boss," the chef said, walking fast toward Rick. "The beef delivery just canceled." Rick frowned. "What do you mean canceled?" "They said our supply account was frozen." Rick waved him off. "Fix it." Then the wine vendor called. Then the produce truck turned around at the back gate. Then the restaurant's payment system stopped processing corporate cards. By 2:15 p.m., Rick's smile had disappeared. At 2:34 p.m., his phone rang again. This time it was the bank. "Mr. Dawson," the voice said, "the Golden Stakes ground lease has been placed under legal review. Effective immediately. All pending expansion credit is suspended." Rick's mouth went dry. "Ground lease? What ground lease?" The woman on the phone paused. "The land beneath your restaurant is privately owned. Your operating rights are tied to compliance terms. Those terms appear to have been violated." Rick felt the room tilt. He ran to the owner's office and called his boss, Travis Holt, the man whose family name was printed on the restaurant menus. Travis answered angrily. "What did you do?" Rick blinked. "Me? Nothing. Some old blind woman came in, and I—" "You what?" Rick swallowed. "I removed her." There was silence. Then Travis whispered, "Tell me you didn't touch her." Rick's face changed. Dosto, kia apko lagda haiku jishi insan ko uski kapran, age. Ye appearance esi judge karna sahi hai? Agar aap rik ki jaga oat or Eleanor ki sakhai jani. Takia aap mafi maintya biakad dikate? Comment main justice Lykian Agar aap Eleanor ko Sothane. At 3:10 p.m., Travis Holt stormed into the Golden Stake, sweating through his white dress shirt. Rick rushed toward him. Sir, I can explain. Travis slapped him across the face, so hard the room went silent. You idiot, Travis hissed. Do you know who that woman was? Rick held his cheek. A homeless old lady. Travis's eyes filled with terror. That was Eleanor Whitmore. The name moved through the restaurant like thunder. An older customer stood up. The blind queen of real estate? Travis turned pale. 40 years earlier, Eleanor and her husband, Samuel Whitmore, had quietly purchased most of the forgotten farmland around Cedar Ridge. People laughed at them back then. They said nobody would ever build luxury stores, hotels, or restaurants in that dusty part of Texas. But Samuel had vision. Eleanor had patience. Together, they bought acre after acre. Then Samuel died in a suspicious business betrayal, and Eleanor vanished from public life. Developers moved in. Families got rich. Restaurants rose. Hotels opened. But buried inside every lease was one unbreakable clause. The land remained Whitmore land, and any business built on it had to follow one condition Samuel had written himself. No person shall be denied dignity on this property. Rick stared like he had been hit again. Travis grabbed the front desk. She controls the land under this building, the service road, the parking lot, and half the block. If she proves we violated the dignity clause, we lose everything. Just then, 5 black luxury cars stopped outside. The restaurant went silent. The doors opened. Lawyers stepped out first. Then a woman in a cream designer suit. Her white hair was now pinned beautifully. Her shoes were polished. Her cane was gone. The black glasses were in her hand. Eleanor Whitmore walked through the same door Rick had thrown her out of. Her eyes were clear, sharp, unbroken. Rick whispered, "You're not blind." Eleanor looked at him. "I never told you I was. You only saw what you wanted to see." Behind her, a lawyer opened a leather folder. Mrs. Whitmore is exercising her legal right to terminate the operating lease due to documented abuse, discrimination, and public misconduct by management. Rick dropped to his knees. "Mrs. Whitmore, please. I have a family. I made one mistake." Eleanor looked around the restaurant. The hostess was crying. The busboy stood frozen. A young waiter named Caleb Brooks watched from the back, the same waiter Rick had been insulting for months because his mother cleaned hotel rooms. Eleanor pointed to Caleb. "You," she said. "Come here." Caleb stepped forward nervously. Eleanor asked, "Did you try to help me when I fell?" Caleb nodded. "Rick told me I'd be fired if I touched you." Eleanor turned to Travis. "Then fire Rick." Travis lowered his head. "Done." Rick grabbed Eleanor's sleeve. "Please don't shut it down." Eleanor stared at him for a long moment. "Dosto, Rick ko saza milni chahi to sab jani hain, like an Eleanor ko ye restaurant band kardina chahidya Rick ko nikal kar jishi garib, hardworking waiter ko manager banana chahida? Apna faisla comment main zero or batayan." Eleanor stepped into the center of the restaurant. "I bought this land 40 years ago because Samuel believed Cedar Ridge would become beautiful," she said. "But beauty without kindness is just expensive ugliness." Then she looked at Rick. "You said this place was not for beggars. You were right." Rick looked up with hope. Eleanor continued, "It was never meant for people who beg for power by humiliating the weak." She turned to Caleb. "Starting tomorrow, you are interim manager. Every employee here will be retrained. Every guest will be treated with dignity. And every month, this restaurant will serve one free community dinner for seniors, workers, and families who can't afford a place like this." Caleb's eyes filled with tears. Rick stood slowly. "And me?" Eleanor picked up the same trash bag from near the door, the one he had thrown at her. She placed it in his hands. "You have 5 minutes to clean out your office," she said. "Take this with you. Not because it is your worth, Rick, but because it is a reminder. When you throw dirt at someone innocent, the smell follows you home. Outside, thunder rolled over Cedar Ridge. By sunset, Rick Dawson stood in the rain, holding a trash bag, watching the golden lights of the restaurant glow without him. On the balcony above, Eleanor Whitmore looked over the town her husband had believed in. And for the first time in 40 years, she smiled. Moral: never measure a person's value by their clothes, age, disability, or silence. Sometimes the person you push down is the same person holding the ground beneath your feet. If this story touched your heart, like this video, subscribe for more powerful stories, and comment justice if you believe respect should never depend on money.